Hi Bobcats, this is Miss Lee, and we're continuing with our fraction decimal percent equivalent conversions. This video is on the decimal and percent conversion. We're going to convert decimals to percent and percent to decimals. Please make sure that you have your notes packet. If you do not, then you will need paper to take notes on and to work the examples. Pause the video whenever necessary so that you can stay caught up. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. To change a decimal to a percent, we're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. Fill in any zeros as placeholders when needed. If you have a whole number, remember that the decimal point is to the right of the last digit in the whole number. For example, if you have 35, the decimal point is invisible because it's not needed, but it is actually to the right of the 5. It's at the end of the whole number, behind the whole number. And we have a little helper here, Dr. Pepper, or DP, where the D stands for decimal and the P stands for percent. So if we're wanting to change from a decimal to a percent, we want to go from the D to the P. We're going to move to the right. And because there are 2 letters here, we want to move it 2 places, the decimal point 2 places to the right. Let's do an example so you'll see. We have 78 hundredths. We want to change this into a percent. So we find our decimal point. It's right here. We're going to move it 2 places, 1, 2, to the right. Our new decimal point goes there. So the percent would be 78. Since there are no other digits, we don't need to put the decimal point, but you do need to put the percent symbol. If you do not put the percent symbol, then you just wrote the whole number 78. You did not write 78%. Since this is your first time doing this, you're just now learning this, we do want to see you actually moving the decimal point and put the little arrow to show the direction that you're moving. So 4 hundredths, here's our decimal point. We're going to move 1 place, would be between the 0 and the 4. 2 places means the decimal point would go behind the 4. So the percent is 4%. Here we have 342 thousandths. Here's our decimal point. Again, DP, from decimal to percent, we're going from the D to the P. So we're going to move it to the right, 2 places only. 1, 2. So the decimal point falls between the 4 and the 2. So it's going to be 34, and we need to keep the decimal point because there is an additional digit. So 34 and 2/10%. Now a lot of students want to write this as 342% because they want to get rid of the decimal point. Up here in the first 2 examples, we didn't need the decimal point in our answer because there were no additional digits. But with this one, after we move it 2 places, there was that 2. So we had to keep the decimal point in our percent answer. So be very careful. All right, here we go. 2 places from the D to the P, 2 places to the right. So our decimal point is going to be between the 6 and the 0. So we get 76 and 5/100ths%. All right, 2 places, 1, 2. And you'll notice we have a hole here. So we have to fill in a 0 as a placeholder. So the percent is 250%, which makes sense because we have 2 holes, don't we? And we know 1 hole is 100%, 2 holes would be 200%. And we have a 5. Look for that invisible decimal. Where does it go? In a whole number, it goes at the end. Now we're going to move it 1 place, 2 places to the right. We have 2 empty placeholders that we have to fill with zeros, and it's going to give us 500%. Pretty easy, right? Just remember DP, Dr. Pepper, or decimal percent. If you're going from the decimal to the percent, you're going from the D to the P, 2 places to the right. 2 places because there's a D and a P. Now let's do the opposite. Let's go from a percent to a decimal. To change a percent to a decimal, we're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. And then we fill in the zeros as placeholders when needed. And again, if you have a whole number, the decimal point is to the right of that last digit in the whole number. Okay, so this time on our DP, we're going from percent to decimal. That's why we moved to the left. Still 2 places. So 30%, 30 is a whole number, which means our hidden invisible decimal point is at the end of the 30. That decimal point is what we want to move 1, 2 places to the left. Again, you want to show moving it 2 places to the left. And our decimal point is now in front of the 3. So we get 30 hundredths, or you could drop this last 0 and just write it as 3/10. 12.5%. We have a decimal point already, so we're going to move that 1, 2 places to the left, and we get 125 thousandths. 8%, it's a whole number. The invisible decimal point is behind the 8. Once you place it, then move it 1, 2 places to the left, and you'll see that we have an empty place value here, so we put in a 0. So the answer would be 8 hundredths. 124%, again, it's a whole number. Find that invisible decimal point, move it 1, 2 places to the left, and we get 1 24 hundredths, which makes sense because our percent is greater than 100%, so you know you're going to have a whole number in your decimal answer. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try the next 4 examples on your own. Once you have your answers, come back and check to see if you are correct. Okay, let's check your answers. I'm going to do a little bit of magic here. 59 28 hundredths percent. We want to write this as a decimal number. Did you get this right here, 0.5928? 5,928 10,000ths is how you would say that. The next one, 157%. Recognize that it is greater than 100, so you are going to have a whole number in your answer. There we go. 1 57 hundredths. 64% becomes 64 hundredths. And this one is 62 hundredths percent. It's not 64%, it's 62 hundredths percent. And it becomes 0.0062. 62 10,000ths. That's pretty small. All right, great job, Bobcats.